The network, I think at the beginning, they just didn't think it was going to work without the drama that most shows have, because this is not the blueprint of reality TV. And I remember my parents pulling us aside and saying, like, you never have to do something because they ask you to, like, be true to who you are. I'd never given birth before, so I didn't know.
That was me.
Again, like, labor's hard, so you're like, that was crazy, wow.
I wasn't thinking it was going to be easy.
And then the nurse came in and was like, that's the scariest thing that could have happened.
I did not know that a cone head was a thing. I was like freaking out.
I told them to put a helmet on our baby.
This happened, and then they're
Everyone
all
was
kind of
checking
like
the shoulder,
scrambling, and I'm
Christian's
like, have y'all seen
have you seen
her?
the head?
We sat down with Sadie Robertson and Christian Huff. You probably already know Sadie from Duck Dynasty or Dancing with the Stars, but you probably didn't know that she met her husband right after she swore off dating. And together, they've been through a lot. From keeping their relationship hidden from social media to their baby getting stuck during childbirth, we talk about all this and so much more, all on today's episode.
This episode of Unplanned is brought to you by Huggies Skin Essentials.
Baby butts rejoice! New Huggies Skin Essentials are here!
A brand new dermatologist line of diapers, wipes, and pull-ups training pants, all designed with baby's sensitive skin in mind.
I wanted to open with a confession that I had because
What?
I'm scared.
when I was in middle school, my family didn't have cable because we couldn't afford it at the time. And so I actually heard about Sadie at the time because I was illegally streaming Duck Dynasty through this like really sketchy website.
No way.
And then my parents found out that I like had access to this, and they were like, hey, we should have like a party with our friends. And I was like, yeah, we could even eat like jambalaya. That's what they do in Louisiana, right? So So I just wanted to confess that to open up because I feel like that's just not cool. So I'm really sorry.
Listen, thank you for your confession. I will say though, good to know Duck Dynasty was reaching lots of places.
You didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that. So
Well, and if your worst confession is streaming Duck Dynasty,
I know that's a
you're
wholesome
doing pretty
family
good.
show.
Most people stream a lot worse things. So.
Accurate. This is a better confession than it could have been.
Oh, for
Wow,
sure.
Matt, getting praised for
I'm
your
sorry.
pirating.
Well, yeah. Hey, I feel a lot better now. So I don't know. I probably like owe your family like probably like $15 from
At
all the
least.
episodes that I've streamed
You
illegally.
can
So
Venmo me after this.
yeah,
but
I'll just like shoot you guys a Venmo.
That's hilarious.
I'll send you an address for a check.
That's so funny.
Christian,
Oh my
is that
gosh.
how you also discovered Sadie growing up?
It actually is, yeah.
Okay.
My
Not
family,
illegally though. You
No,
were
yeah,
watching
yeah,
it on
yeah,
A&E.
Yeah, my family had cable. Me and all my friends were huge Duck Dynasty fans, and when I was actually a freshman in high school on the baseball team, I told one of the guys that I was going to marry Sadie, which I did not remember saying that, and it was not until right before we got married
Yeah,
that
he didn't tell me
texted
that. He did not tell me that when we were dating, like the whole
Well, 'cause I
time.
forgot about
which
it.
was kind of a
What?
good thing
Yeah,
because
you're
I think
like
I would
a
have been like,
creeper.
oh, okay,
Kinda
that's
weird.
sweet, but okay. But it was so sweet because we were a week away from our wedding, and one of his friends texted him who was invited to the wedding and was like, dude, this is so cool. Like, I remember freshman year when you told us on the baseball field you were going to marry her one day, and like you're literally marrying her.
And I really have no recollection of that.
And so I was
honestly.
like, okay, that's actually really cool. Like at this point, this is really sweet. So yeah, they were fans of Duck Dynasty, but when we met, the show had already been over for a couple years.
Well, one
and
time,
stuff.
one of the first times you came to my family's house, they had a Duck Dynasty
Your
cup.
mom was so embarrassed because they're
had-
not the people that you
No.
would think would have a Duck Dynasty cup.
No,
What do you
she
think
like
would have a
opened
Duck
up the
Dynasty
cover.
cup?
Like they're not like Louise. They're not eating jambalaya. Okay,
Yeah.
like they're not like eating jambalaya. You would expect to see maybe.
My dad's not a hunter.
No, they're not hunters or anything. And your mom is always like so put together, so cute, stylish, and like I opened their cabinet and everything in their house is so beautiful. And there it is, like all the bearded men in my family on a cup. And I was like, all right. And his mom was like, oh my gosh, it was a gift. Someone gave that to me. Like, it was
I don't
so
think
funny.
it was a gift. I think she probably
I think
bought
she
it.
bought
though.
it. I think
But no,
Did you bring it
we were
up,
huge
or did she
fans.
Oh
notice
yeah, I mean there was no ignoring it. Like it's like one of those where it's like my dad, my uncle's face is like the beard on this cup. It wasn't one of those like you could be like, oh, it's just like we didn't know it was Duck Dynasty. Like it was my whole family. It was hilarious.
I feel like we were like the normal, we weren't like gonna go drive to West Monroe and
No, y'all were just
We
like,
were the- we-
y'all
yeah,
just watched
we
Duck
kept up with it on
Dynasty,
TV,
and
yeah.
you had a cup.
Yeah, and I had a
That's
crush
it.
on you, yeah.
And you had a crush on me, and I didn't know that.
Christian, do you have an urge to just grow out a really long beard at some point?
I have, well, so I've really,
No, I hope
I
not.
can't. Well, first off, I can't. It's like it's
Okay.
kind of. I know that's kind of like a prerequisite that I thought would be, being able to grow out a beard, and I can't. Well, I mean, I can kind of grow some scruff, but I can't, like, there's no volume in it, you know? But I've thought about, maybe doing some things to
But
it.
I like that
it.
he's like clean shaven. I'm like, don't go there. That's like not my thing. That is my
Last
dad,
hunting
you
season,
know?
I grew it out a
know.
little bit, but it's just kind of scraggly.
I feel you, bro. I'm the same way. I wish I could grow something. Like my father-in-law the other day, I hadn't shaved in like 2 days or 3 days, and he was like, "Oh, are you growing it out?" And he's like, "Well, actually, you have all that like patchy area over there." I'm like, "Yeah, I can't really do much." So, kind of a bummer. But
Pat's okay with me, Matt.
I wanted to know though. I want to
No.
know what is the origin story of the show, because I feel like most people are like, "Yeah, I watched Duck Dynasty growing up," but they probably
Yeah.
don't know how it actually came to be.
Yeah, so this is such a good question, and actually my family just put out a movie last year called The Blind, and it's really cool. And this is really cool because we were flying and it was on Delta. It was like one of the movie choices on Delta,
really?
so you
That
can
was one
watch
of, like,
it on
the
your
new
flight.
releases, so.
But it kind of shares a little bit of the backstory of my family that a lot of people don't know. Really, my grandpa's story. So my grandpa was like crazy wild man, like lived in the woods, literally like wild man. And that was whenever my dad was like really young. He ended up making a lot of mistakes. They owned a bar at the time, like doing all this crazy stuff. When he came out of his like wild days, and he like had a completely like transformation of lifestyle. Like he came to know Jesus, changed his whole life, and then he was like, hey, what am I gonna do? And he actually was listening to my uncle, who was really little at the time, play on his little flute, and he was like,
One of those like little,
it was like a little like flute thing, and he was
something like
thinking
that.
like that sounds like a duck, like kind of sound like the sound of a duck. And he actually invented the first two-reeded duck call. So he invented the duck call, and the movie like alludes to this, but it's really just the backstory of his life. So he invented the duck call. He tried to sell it like all these places, like went to Walmart, went to other places, like look at my invention, and he would like blow the duck call and then play the sound of a duck, and it sounded just like it. And so he started a company called Duck Commander, and they sold duck calls, but like not everybody's buying a duck call, So they would make like VHS tapes of like them hunting and like using the duck
Duckman.
call. It was called Duck Commander.
Duckman.
So Duckman.
Well, it was like,
yeah.
Duckman, Duck Commander,
But
Duckman,
the company was Duck Commander, but it was called Duckman, the videos. So my dad finally, he was the only brother that went to college. My mom and dad, my mom's like very businesswoman too. So they were like, I think we could grow this company. So they took over Duck Commander, and my mom loves reality TV. And she was like, the best thing we could do for the company is have a reality TV show, because then it would get people who like aren't hunters to like know about Duck Commander, or are hunters and don't know about the duck call. So the first thing that they did was pitch it to the Outdoor Channel. And so we had a show on Outdoor Channel called The Duck Commander Family. And it was a hunting show, of course, but it had so much of our family on it. I was like 10 probably. And the interviews of me as a 10-year-old are hilarious. I have like the countryest accent ever, which I still do, but I really did then.
Really
Bad.
country.
It was kind of embarrassing. And so anyways, the show started doing so well and breaking all these records on the Outdoor Channel, because now like moms, like wives and kids are watching the Outdoor Channel, and that's not normally the case. So bigger networks started seeing it.
Which the Outdoor Channel is a channel on cable, and it has
Okay.
it has hunting on the Outdoor Channel.
Oh, great. Okay. Wouldn't have never known that. Yeah.
Christian, too far. No, but these
I
are
don't know if he was
these are new friends.
I don't know if he was illegally streaming the Outdoor Channel at some point.
Sorry, I'm
He
just
found a way.
I'm a convict over here.
Another thing we have to confess. No, but the Outdoor Channel, yeah, it was doing great, and so other networks started noticing. We started getting all these offers from other networks, and A&E actually put in an offer to take over the show, but they wanted to change the name to Duck Dynasty, which we thought was so funny because it wasn't a dynasty. This is like a duck call business, like Duck Commander, and we were like, that seems a little far-fetched. And it is kind of crazy because of Duck Dynasty. It did kind of become like a dynasty because people were buying duck calls like crazy, who would never buy a duck call, who are never going to use a duck call, but just wanted it because of the show. And so my mom was right. It was the best thing for the business, but more than that, it was a godly family on TV with good morals and values and having fun and being silly and blowing things up, and people just loved the show, and it broke all kinds of cable records, which is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's still the most.
It's like the most watched show ever on cable, and actually
like
the
non-scripted.
most non-scripted. The biggest episode was when my grandparents renewed their vows, which I think is so sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
That's really
And that was
sweet.
like the biggest stream show on TV, a non-scripted.
cool.
Isn't that
Oh,
cool?
hey.
So
That's really cool.
I know it's like a wild story, but that's kind of like overview of it.
That's so cool because, like you're saying, like it's like such a wholesome family, whereas I feel like reality TV definitely does not lean towards wholesome at all. So
Yeah.
and it's really one of the few that I can think of.
Okay, now that I'm like, we're talking about this, my memory just got refreshed. I feel like my mom, like 10 years ago, was like, I love this show because they wanted to like make it look like they were cussing at one point, but then they actually weren't.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some storyline about how your
Yes.
family fought the network on like, hey, we want to make this like clean, and
Yeah.
the network wanted to like act like there were some curse words being said
Oh
here and
yeah,
there?
the first episode, I'll never forget. We were all watching like as a family. We had like a big party because the first show was coming out, and they bleeped my mom, and my mom doesn't cuss. And we were like, Mom, like we were all like so shocked. And she was like, I didn't say that. Like I did not cuss. And we were like, what the heck? Like that was so crazy. Cause she was like running up bleachers in the first episode, and she was like, it was like beep, but like she didn't say anything.
Really?
Yeah. And like, I know that my mom, like she did not say anything. And so, cause you know, my mom, like she's so funny and like the sweetest, like chillest lady, like that just wasn't out of her character. She wouldn't have done that. And so anyways, they were like, we kind of like fought the network on it.
This
like,
is once the episode has already been aired.
yeah.
Oh, it was out?
Yeah, it was out.
The episode was
and we were
out.
like, hey, like, don't do that because I mean,
didn't even know that
and
story.
Not,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
and also like, I mean, we're human, you know. It's not like we're all not capable of dropping a word. But
Yeah.
she was like, I actually didn't say that, so I don't want to be represented in that
Yeah.
way if that's not even true. And they would always at the beginning, they just didn't think it was gonna work. Like it's not gonna work. A show on cable, a TV show, a reality TV show without the drama that most shows have, without the
fighting, and
the this.
yeah.
So they would always try to like stoke a fight between like the couples, or they would tell us to be. I remember one time in the episode we were like picking up sticks for my grandpa, and they were like, "Hey, when he asks you, say no." And I was like, no way. There is no way I'm going to tell him no. Like that would have been so disrespectful. And so I was like, they did it again. He's like, go pick up sticks. I was like, yes, sir. And they're like, no, like just this time, just for the scene. And I remember our parents pulling us aside and saying like, you never have to do something because they ask you to. Like be true to who you are in that scene. And so we were true to who we are. And actually, people loved it because people were like, wow, respectful kids on TV. Like it's so
Yeah.
cool to see them respect their grandpa.
Yeah.
Which was true. And so they thought this is not going to work, but that's the very thing that works, you know, that people love that. And then the drama comes from just the drama of, like I said, they literally would blow things up. They would do crazy things. My dad would come in and no one was working, and he'd be like, get your butts up and work. Like, you know, it was like funny drama, but it wasn't like hateful or rude or like too far. But yeah, the network, I think at the beginning, it was just like, how is this going to work? Because this is not the blueprint of reality TV, but it's what people want to see.
How cool.
It's really
I love
cool.
that. There was an episode where your family went frog gigging. I think it was like your Uncle Si's idea or something. And I remember like the show influenced me in a way because I remember telling my dad, like, Dad, have you ever been frog gigging? Like we should definitely do this. And so my dad took me and my little brother and then my cousin who was visiting us from like a small town in Illinois at the time, and he had like a southern
That's
accent
so
and everything.
cool.
And we all went frog gigging. And sure enough, we ended up getting told, like just like in the episode, how they got in trouble for frog gigging on a golf course.
Uh-huh.
We got in trouble for doing it in a residential area because it was like
That's
a pond in a neighborhood.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But there were so many frogs. So I mean, like, why would you not go to this?
Yeah.
I mean, there were probably 500 frogs at this pond. We were just
I'm
catching
so
them left
confused.
and
Are
right.
you killing them?
So that's the thing. I felt really bad.
They would die
No.
eventually.
They die eventually.
Eventually.
But no, that's the thing. The frog gigging, it's like a little spear, like a mini spear. But I felt really bad about using that, so we would catch them with nets, like little like nets you use on the beach,
And then put them out of the misery later.
And then yeah, I'm not gonna say what we did then, but
Stop.
I'm
yeah.
just like, this is
Anyway.
not
Over
hard.
this.
Now I feel really bad, but they tasted so good.
You
like,
ate
have you,
them?
have
Well,
you had frog
if you
legs?
kill it, you gotta eat it. That's
yeah. That's the beauty of
That's
it.
the beauty of it. That's the hunting. If you're gonna
Yeah,
kill it, you
that's
gotta
true, that's
eat
true.
it.
The
There's
other
hunting
thing,
and
I guess I
killing.
didn't realize you were even killing them.
I'm
so
not
now
gonna-
just
yeah.
a little shocked.
Well, yeah, but you eat it. You eat the frog.
Yeah, but the way I'm not gonna say how we did it, but it's like it was a very humane way of just like quick, like instantaneous boom. They were out. But I feel like that's so much more ethical
my
than some of the
gosh.
ways that they, I don't know.
Have you
take
ever
other
like
animals out.
ran over a frog in the rain?
I sure hope
I'm
not.
sure. I'm sure.
They
I'm sure you
definitely-
There's
have.
not a lot of frogs in Arizona.
I'm
Oh,
sure
that's
you-
true.
that
In
is true.
There's not a lot of
Louisiana,
rain
it's
either.
inevitable.
Okay, that's the funny part is I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, like near the city, and then Abby grew up literally 100 feet from a cornfield, and she's the one who like had never grown up around a farm and done all that. But my grandpa had a farm, so we'd go out there and go like quail hunting and stuff.
Like, rural is different than country. Sometimes they're together, sometimes they're not.
That is true. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And also, like, so people always assume I'm a hunter because I'm in the Robertson family, and I'm like, no, I've actually never been duck hunting with my family. I've only been deer hunting twice, and I was like, cool, I don't think I'm gonna do this again. Like, that's just not for me. And I love that they do it. I really do appreciate that the men in our family do it. I think it's like a really amazing thing. And we have deer meat, and we always have like the meat of the season, of the hunting season, and that's what we eat as a family, and that's what we come around the table. And it's actually like a really beautiful tradition and stuff. I love that about my dad and my family, but I just don't like it. Like, I don't want to do it, And so it's funny.
Well, you like to sleep in, and I feel
exactly. See, everyone's different. Everyone's different. So I'm like, I want to get up early and go sit in like the cold water in the winter and kill ducks. That's just not my thing.
That's wild.
Did you have to get like initiated into Sadie's family in order to
I didn't
be
have
accepted?
to. I didn't really. I do really enjoy hunting.
You didn't
now,
have to, but you just naturally did.
I just naturally did. And me and her dad are really close. We enjoy all the same things, sports and evangelism and all the different things. But we really bond over college football and tennis, and
so hunting was just natural.
Hunting was natural, but I was not a big hunter growing up, but really enjoy it now. I enjoy just the sport element, just the camaraderie, and just the community elements of it.
It's
like getting
fun.
getting out with your guy
Their
friends
stories
and
are
getting out
fun.
in the woods. It's really cool. It's special.
Thank you to Nutrafol for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. I never experienced hair shedding until I had 2 babies.
Mine is just male pattern baldness.
Your hair's getting really thick right now.
Thank you.
though.
I've been taking my Nutrafol more consistently,
I've
actually.
been noticing that.
Yes, I took it last night.
You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll.
I have consistently taken Nutrafol for years now. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, with over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. 1 million people is a lot of people to say that they have noticed results with this. And thinning hair can be different for men and women. That's why Matt has his men vitamin and I have my women one. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth. Nutrafol has multiple formulas that are tailored to give your hair what it needs to grow based on your biology, your life stage, and your lifestyle factors. With Nutrafol, building a hair care routine is very simple. You just purchase it online. No prescription or doctor's visits required. There's free shipping and automated deliveries, which ensures you'll never miss a day. You start to see results after 3 to 6 months, so you do have to kind of commit to it, be consistent. Get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscriptions and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code UNPLANNED. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code UNPLANNED. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code UNPLANNED.
Was the success of the show at all expected? I mean,
No.
what was that like being a kid, and then everybody, I'm sure, is seeing you in public and being like, Sadie, can I have a picture with you?
Yeah, no, that was very, I think, unexpected. I don't think anyone could have expected that, because it really was so different than a lot of reality shows. Like, not a lot of reality shows do hit that level of success, and so I don't think we even had we never even thought about that. We ended up, I think, how many seasons did we do? Over 10. 145 episodes, 5 years of filming. Like, I mean, we did not expect that. You put out one season and you don't really know what's going to come after that. And I do remember, like, the first times, like, going out and being like, oh, wow, this is kind of different and crazy. But I was shielded from that for a little bit longer than I feel like what people would have thought, because we started filming the show when I was in 8th grade, and then 9th grade year is when the show took off, and my family was traveling and doing other things, but I was in high school, like, just living a more normal lifestyle. And then the show kept getting crazier, and then my junior year of high school is when I was on Dancing with the Stars, and that's when my life changed, because it was like, oh, like, now I'm not just like the kid in the Robertson family, as like I had my own following and stuff. And then that's whenever I feel like, okay, this is weird. Like, people are showing up to my basketball games because they know who I am and bringing their duck calls and quacking whenever I dribble. And, like, I was like, this is not fun. So, like, I feel like I didn't like experience the elevation of fame, like how it was like overnight for my parents. I feel like I kind of, it was like slow into it for me. And then when I was on Dancing with the Stars, I was like, oh wow, this is kind of life changing.
And the cool thing for you talk about it like getting famous with your whole family versus like not
I think that's what
isolation.
was so cool for us. Like that's what I mean. It was kind of like slow because I think when a lot of people get famous, it's just them and it feels like so isolating. And I'm so grateful I got to, you know, go into fame with my entire family, like my parents, my cousins, my siblings. There's like 40 of us, and like we're all like, what's happening, this is crazy. And I remember like we all had dinner, and I remember everyone was like, hey, no one get the big head, like this is all, this is like for the glory of God, this is what our family's doing together, this is something that like if they take it away tomorrow, we're gonna be just fine because we were good without it. It's a blessing to have it. And so having like my mentors of my parents and like aunts and uncles and grandparents speak this over me as they're experiencing the same thing, I think is what set us up really well. Because people say like, you know, how did you, you know, come out okay? Because a lot of people, especially young kids, come out of reality TV or Hollywood and it really affects them. I'm like, well, I can see why. Like if I was doing that alone, it would have been really bad. Like it would have been really, really hard. And there are so many things that were really, really hard that I went through privately, you know, and had help to go through. But experiencing it with my whole family made it very, very special.
Yeah,
Very special.
it's cool hearing you say that because I feel like now especially there's been so much that's come out with reality TV about how it can be really hurtful to a family and how, I don't know, there's things happening behind the scenes that people on television didn't know about. And so just to see your family thrive and come together and not be affected in a negative way, I mean, it really, I feel like it's a cool testament to just how tightly knit your family is and how much you love each other.
Yes.
And, I love that when people told you to you know, disrespect your grandpa, that you said, no, I'm going to stay true to who I am. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I think it was like key that we were so open with communication during the whole thing. Like my parents were communicating what was hard for them. Like I remember, this is kind of like crazy, but just there's so many beautiful sides to fame and there's really hard things too. I remember there was one time where a magazine put out a fake story of my mom, but it was like really bad, like really, really bad. And including fake pictures of my mom. They were like people used, I guess it wasn't AI at the time, but some way made it look like my mom's face on another person's body. It was terrible. That flew around like all of our schools in town, like locally. And I remember like hearing about it from Twitter and like everyone at school was talking about it. And I remember going home and being like, oh my gosh. And I remember my mom like immediately was like, this is not me. This is not what happened. And like, you just have to know it's true kind of thing. And then it ended up coming out like lawyers got involved and busted the story to not be true. They had the actual picture of my mom that the person used to like make it look fake and actually print it on it. I mean, it's crazy. But I just remember like the open communication of like my mom sharing like how that affected her, but what is true. I think it helps so much to be like, okay, you know what? Like having, you know, influence in the world, you're going to have the opinion of man all day long. And like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but like you got to know truth. And when you stand on truth and you have a family of people to communicate and speak truth, it is so powerful how you can get through those things together and come out so much stronger. And I think that's what that is why my family is so close, because we went through that together and like had to have conversations with each other so openly and so honestly. I don't know that we would have had we not all been experiencing the same thing at the same time, you know? So it was a wild time and mostly great, and then some hard, you know.
And I think even too, being open about like negative comments actually do, you know, like being the openness and the vulnerability to be like, it actually does hurt your feelings. It does affect you. I'm sure you guys know, like when people say mean things, it actually like there actually is something deep that like, you know, it does affect you. So I think even being open and being like, like when people say mean and hurtful things, like it actually does affect
and
it.
going through all
hard.
that together. I remember the first time I got a mean comment on Twitter when Duck Dynasty started. Like I just got like my Twitter account, just got social media, which my mom made us wait a little bit before we did. And someone was like, at legit Sadie Rob, you look like a man. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this person said I look like a man. I was like, you know, 14. I was like, what in the world? I remember I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, someone just said I look like a man. And then my mom said, it's okay. Someone to me tagged me and said you look like Squidward from SpongeBob. And it was like so crazy, but we're going through this together. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. And then she got to help me go through like fame. So that's what I say is so unique about the whole thing. Like our family did it together. So she had her own struggle. She had crazy stuff happen to her that affected her and that was hard. But like she was able to speak with me through the things that I was going through too. And it was cool.
That's really neat.
Crazy. I appreciate you guys being open about all that too, because I feel like, I don't know, people probably get afraid to talk about the hard challenges that you face with fame, and I don't know, just navigating that can be so difficult. So that's cool that your whole family just banded together and stuck together and supported one another. I love that so much.
We're a laugh at yourself kind of family. And I think
love
that's the key to it. You gotta laugh at yourself. You gotta just be able to like roll with the punches.
I have a hard time with.
Christian does have a hard time with.
You
have to learn how to get made fun of.
I'm not a laugh at yourself kind of guy.
You gotta learn how to get made fun of and roll with the punches.
Is your family sarcastic?
Yes, very much so.
Okay,
My family?
Your family?
Really? You think we're sarcastic?
You don't think your dad is sarcastic?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like he's just straight up. I feel like
That's
I
true.
think it's like
means
funny.
it.
Like he means it actually.
Yeah, that's probably true. But he's legitimately probably the funniest person.
He
I've ever
is
met.
one of the funniest people in the world.
Like he could
But
do
I don't think
stand-up
he's
comedy.
sarcastic. I think he's just straight up. It's like
Okay, you're
funny
right,
because
yeah.
it's a little brutal.
He's just witty.
Is that intimidating?
Who's funnier, your dad or your Uncle Si?
Well, that's different humors.
Different humors.
That's
Okay.
like one's you're laughing at and one you're laughing with them.
Okay.
If we're being honest.
But like your dad, he's just so witty. Like if you say something, he has the quickest comebacks you've ever seen.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Which you can't laugh at yourself, but that's the problem. You can dish it, but you can't take
That
it.
I know. Trust me, I'm really aware of that. I can dish it, but like the moment someone says something to me, I just get so.
Hold it.
I
Your
get-
pink drink right there.
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
pinkety
So if you're
drinkety.
watching this and you're like judging my pink drink, then I might make fun of you for drinking it, but don't come at me.
Don't come
Yeah.
at me.
Don't come at
Both
me.
Christian and I are rocking the pink energy drinks today.
Thanks,
so
Alani, for sponsoring this podcast.
Christian was like, "Hey, are we gonna say that these are our wife drinks?" I was like, "Bro, I think we can just rock it, and the flavor's amazing." So
It actually is
That's
really
funny.
good.
Right?
No, my
Yeah,
family
being
makes fun of
confident.
each other a lot, and your family doesn't really.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So I feel the same way, Christian, because Abby's family is so sarcastic. So I had to
Not
learn.
sarcastic. Well, yes, sarcastic, but also we just like give each other such a hard time.
I took everything so literally growing up because my family is not sarcastic at all. So I was like, "Wait, is your mom like being mean to me? Like, does she like me?" And she's like, "No, she's just being sarcastic."
I was like, she's just
being
showing she
funny.
cares.
Yeah.
So-
But it is funny because like you rag me all the time, and especially on my podcast, like he'll just like say stuff to me, and I think it's so funny because that's my family's humor. It reminds me so much of my mom and dad. Like they just give it to each other, so I think it's funny. And then people are always in the comments like, "He's so mean to Sadie." Also, I'm like, no, I think it's funny.
Give me a break.
I know.
Well, I'm very sarcastic.
You are.
Me and my
yeah.
family, we're on the more sarcastic side.
So you just gotta be able to take it back.
I know.
Laugh at yourself.
I know. I'm getting there.
I
I'm
think
getting
it's the
better.
key to life.
I'm
Being able to
getting better.
laugh at yourself makes life way more fun,
That's
way less
true.
stressful.
That's a good point.
Okay, let's talk about your love story a little bit. I know earlier we were talking about how Christian had confessed that he loved Sadie and wanted to marry Sadie back in like high school, but like what can we dive into here? Because I feel like there's so much more
How
to
we
it than that.
actually come together and meet.
Yeah.
You want to tell it, or do you want me to?
You got it.
This is a good story. So
You're way more articulate than I am.
It is kind of funny. I can tell the fast version ish, but so I was down at the beach where their family kind of is from. So have you ever been to 30A?
Yeah.
30A, amazing.
I went there growing up.
I love 30A. So I was down there on a girls trip with my friends. He was down there with his family because that's like where they're from. And we were down there. And the day before I met Christian, I was in another relationship. And I was like, I really feel like it's time to break up with this person. And I had just kind of been on this honestly like unhealthy pattern of just like dating people breaking up, and I was like so desperate to find like the one, but I was just in a bad headspace. Like I feel like my desperation for that kind of took away from like the beauty of what that actually means to like find the person you're gonna spend your life with. It had just honestly become a distraction in my life, and so I broke up with this guy, and I had this super honest conversation with my friends like, I gotta be done with dating for a while. Like I just am seeing myself being desperate for this thing, and I think it's actually distracting me of what that actually is like all about and what God has for me. And I just want to like recenter myself and like trust that God has that person in my life. So I had this honest conversation with them about how I'm done dating.
Tomorrow.
I really need to slow down, all this stuff. And I make a video with my friends on July 2nd, 2018 saying, I'm done dating. I'm holding myself accountable to y'all and myself by making this video. It's like so dramatic. Literally, July 3rd, 2018, I'm walking on the beach, and sorry, I keep hitting this mic. I'm walking on the beach, and his cousin had messaged me the day before because they all knew my sister.
I met Bella the year
They knew
prior.
my sister from like being down in Seaside. And so anyways, his cousin messaged me. He was like, hey, we're all at the beach. Like, we'd love to meet you. We know your sister. I'm thinking, yeah. And I actually told her we're going crab hunting, which this was not killing crabs. This was just catching them, putting them back on the beach. And so I said, we're going crab hunting. extra nuts. Y'all should come. Thinking it's just going to be the girls that were coming. And so they come walking up and Christian's with them.
You know I tagged along for that.
Yeah. So Christian comes and...
I wasn't going to miss out on the crap outing.
Yes. So he knew I was coming. I didn't know he was coming because, again, freshman year, like he knew of me. And I was like, okay, so I see Christian walking up and I turn around to my friends and I said, delete the video. I was like, he's so cute. Like I knew. It was like love at first sight. I was like, I know I said this yesterday, but today, like, this is a new story.
Wait, this video, was it something you had already posted online?
Well, no, it wasn't to be posted. I just made a video with my friends saying, like, I'm not going to date. Yeah, I was like,
gotcha.
I'm not going to date for a while. And so I made this video, and I said, July 2nd, 2018, this is me saying I'm not going to date for a while. We're holding myself accountable.
Got it.
And then July 3rd, I see Christian and I turn around and say, delete that video. Because I was like, oh shoot, like he's so cute. And then they were like, no, don't even talk to him. Don't even look at him. Like
they're trying to help you.
They're trying to
like,
help me.
stay.
Because again, like, this is
I'm
seriously, I really did need to stop dating. I really did need a break. And so I see him though and I'm like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do? So the whole night I'm trying to not talk to him because they are like, don't talk to him, blah, blah, blah. And then he's not talking to me.
I'm talking to her friends the whole night because I'm like, you know, my first time meeting you, I'm not going to be like that overbearing
So he's talking
person.
to my friends and like
So I'm talking to her friends the whole time to kind of seem casual. And
Yes.
like, I've been here before.
And my friends
But I
are so
haven't.
beautiful,
Lay
like
low.
I've
literally
never
a
been there
model.
before.
And I was like, oh crap, like he's gonna date one of them. It's so annoying. Why did I make that stupid video? And so I was like, he's gonna date them, and one of them is gonna be fine, whatever. Okay, hold myself accountable. So I'm like talking to his girl cousins, and then at the end of the night, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, you know, which this part embarrasses him so bad, but I love to tell this part.
It's tough.
Because now that like I know you, I'm like, I actually can't believe you did this either. Because
know.
it was so bold for you. You were like, he's like,
Thanks, baby.
you know, you're welcome. He was like, you know, you follow everyone in my family but me on Instagram. And I was like, oh really? Which actually that was true. And I don't know why I just never followed Christian. Like my
you thought I
sister
was too
knew all
cute.
of them.
You didn't want to like put yourself
No, I
out
just
there.
was like, I was just like, I'm not gonna follow him because I don't know you. But my sister was friends with all the girl cousins, like his brother, and I heard so much about them, so I followed all of them but Christian. I was like, oh, really? Okay, haha. And then I'm thinking, like, okay, sweet. Like, that's interesting. He said that. So then I get home, and I follow him back, but I don't even tell my friends I follow him back because I'm like, they're going to be like, don't do this. And so I see a DM pop up, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe he already DM'd me. This is crazy. So I click on it, and it was actually from 2 years before. And it was like from him, and he was like, hey, he saw me at Passion Conference speaking, and he said, I saw you at Passion Conference, and I just think it's amazing what God's doing in your life. I just think it's so awesome what you're doing, like standing for him. And he was like, just want to send you this encouragement, like keep going. And then he said, and I also think you're the most beautiful girl in the world. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I'm sitting on this like sweet DM from 2 years ago. I'm like, what am I going to do? So anyways, finally.
You sat on it for 3 days?
I did sit on it.
Do you
for
remember
3
sending
days.
that DM?
Yes, I do. I don't remember like typing it out, but I remember shooting my shot.
Did you actually say though? I think you're the like in quotes.
did.
I
He
think you're the
literally
most
did.
beautiful
I did say
girl
that.
in the world.
He
I did
straight
say
up did.
that.
I actually can't. That's why I was
Bold.
like, he was so bold and like you're kind of shy in a lot of scenarios. So
Yeah.
I was so shocked that he said that. Now it's even more shocking that we're married and I know you so well. Because I'm like, that was really bold and brave of you. But when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the nicest thing ever.
Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. I never understood how moms would be like, oh, I forgot to eat lunch. Like, blah, blah, blah.
It's a problem.
I never understood it. Now I understand. I've forgotten to eat lunch multiple days in a row, and I got a migraine every single day.
And
I
that's
actually
why-
have not eaten lunch today.
And that's why we're so thankful to Factor, because they actually make it easy to make a meal very quickly. You get it
Yes.
fresh, never frozen, to your doorstep. You can pop the meals right in the microwave for about 2 minutes, and then boom, you have a meal ready to go. Why have you not been eating Factor meals recently?
well, we need a shipment, and it's actually
That's
coming
true.
in.
Oh, yay. I'm excited
Yeah,
for
which
that
is
one.
going to be really good because they literally could not make it easier for you. There's no shopping, no prepping, no cooking, no cleaning up, which is really what I need for lunch because there's so much going on in the day. In the morning, I can find time to prepare a quick breakfast. Dinner time obviously is a very intentional time, but lunch just gets overlooked so often. And Factor isn't just convenient, it's also very yummy. They have 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week that are delicious. They have things like restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon.
The way you just said filet mignon just
I didn't want
cracked
to
me
say mignon.
up. Mignon.
Head to factormeals.com/unplanned50 and use code unplanned50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% 50% off your next month. That's code unplanned50 at factormeals.com/unplanned50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
It was just such a kind message. And so anyways, I took 3 days to think about it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to DM him back. And so we started DMing, started talking, and then he shortly after that asked me to go on a date. And because we started talking on the phone like a lot, like every night we'd talk on the phone, and it was like that classic love story where you're like talking for like 3 hours, and I would tell my friends, no, I promise, like it's nothing, like, we're just getting to know each other, like we're just friends, which we really were just like talking casually and getting to know each other.
Well, and this was my first relationship too, that I was like actually, being intentional about like really pursuing it, like from a purity standpoint. Like I'm really going out, I'm gonna like, I'll call you at 8 p.m. on
so
Tuesday.
So intentional. Like, he would say, like, hey, I'm going to call you tomorrow night at 7. Does that work for you? And then, like, it was, like, kind of set up dates, but it was so intentional. He wasn't, like, flirty. He wasn't pushy. I wasn't that. We were just really, truly getting to know each other. Because Christian, like I said, I mentioned I had a past of, like, dating. But it was, like, in this search of marriage, but it wasn't actually, like, good relationships. It was just, like, I so wanted that I was jumping into every relationship that I could find instead of just, like, resting in the fact that God had someone for me. And he was, in a different way, dating a bunch of people and like not a very godly way, and just like kind of doing it for like, I don't know, you were college life, very
life. I was insecure, hopeless romantic,
like getting with a lot of girls and stuff.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time he was actually going to pursue a girl like purely and intentionally, and it was the first time that I was like going to slow things down and actually just like get to know someone. And if we don't date, that's fine, but I just want to know your heart.
Well, at the time, like leading up to that, I was not super serious about my faith, which is why I was, with women like that. And then when I finally, like a year prior to meeting Sadie, I really got serious about my faith. God did a lot in my life from that. And then, so I had a year of like really kind of getting to know God and who he was and what, what his plan for me was. And then by the time I met Sadie,
the type of relationship you might want
I was
one
actually,
day.
I'd, binge watched all these, sermons on dating well and how to pursue a woman and all those different things. So then when we actually got the chance to meet, it was like it was like a fresh start of like, okay, here's how I can actually do this. Here's the blueprint of how to, be successful in this and, to pursue it.
And it was really funny because there's this book called Single, Dating, Engaged, Married by Ben Stewart. We love Ben Stewart. He's an incredible pastor, wrote this great book. And I ended up reading the book later, and I was like, he's following this to a T. Like, it was so funny.
I got outed, bro.
I think he literally, like, said this to me, but I appreciate it because you were really trying to do things.
Like, I've heard this before.
I was like, you totally did that. But anyway, so we started talking all the time. He asked me on a date, and I was like, hey, I actually, when I said I need to slow things down, I really meant it, and it has nothing to do with you, but it really has everything to do with me. Like, I don't think I'm ready yet, but I gave him the date, like, September the 10th, if he wanted to take me on a date, which was, like, 2 months from the time he asked me. And he was like, that's 2 months away. I was like, yeah, but let's just keep getting to know each other. So we did. Then he came up to Nashville. Actually, these were our stomping grounds. We came to Franklin, because that's where I was living.
Yeah.
And
we got to think, too, I was in college with like a couple thousand followers on Instagram, and you're, super well known with like millions of followers. So it was even the early dynamic of like, stepping into something that's so outside of anything that I have a frame of reference for.
Was that intimidating? Like knowing, okay, if I screw this up, I could be like the person the internet hates for like breaking Sadie Robertson's heart.
Sure.
I would have never dumped her. She was gonna dump me, but I talked her out of it.
You were? Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Bro, why did I say
that? Okay, so this is.
I can't. It makes me so sad.
Actually, he didn't even know I tried to break up with him until I was telling the story one time, and he was like,
"This
you
was
were
like
breaking
6
up with
months
me?"
later,
and I was like, You didn't
I did
know
not
that? Like, I feel like I can
like,
communicate.
that was the end.
Yeah, no, that was almost the... Well, okay, again, this was all on me. Like, it was all me. It was just... And to your point, too, kind of the same. I kind of thought I needed to date someone who understood, like, what my life was like. But actually, I didn't. Like, I really needed the opposite, of that. I think part of our lives being so different is what attracted me to you, because I wanted the normal, I wanted it to just be normal. And I think I love that about you, and like the season you were in, just being in college, and like I love hanging out with all your college friends and just getting to be like a normal person that was 20 years old, because I felt like I wasn't sometimes like that. So anyways, when we went on our date, it was really great. It was really fun. He came up to here, and we had like 3 days in Nashville, just like hang out and get to know each other. He got to know my friends, and it was awesome.
I thought it was fantastic.
Then like 2 weeks later, I was just kind of like, oh man, I don't think I can do this. Like I don't think I'm ready, because I was about to go on tour. My life was so crazy, and I just got in my head about like his life is so good. Like he's in college, he like has all these great friends, he had this like super just like established normal life in the best way, and I felt like my life being as crazy it was would be like a burden to him. And so it was kind of like what is that called, like self-deprecating, where you're like take yourself out of the equation, because you don't think, like I didn't think it was going to be good for him. Like I was like, this is too crazy, I don't want to do this.
It was almost like you convinced yourself.
I convinced myself like it was kind of too good to be true, and I just need to remove myself from the situation. And like, you don't want to date me, because this is going to be so crazy.
Would you say you're an indecisive person?
Indecisive?
Yeah.
Actually, normally not.
I'm
like,
indecisive.
He is.
Really?
I'm like very decisive. I'm normally, and this was the thing with Christian that was different. I unintentionally can take lead in like a lot of situations. Like I think, I lead a business, a ministry, I speak a lot, like challenging message. And so really typically I'm very decisive, and I take like lead. And he was such a good leader, and I had never had someone like that I think I was like, wow, this is actually what I want and what I need. But I was like, I don't want you to have this craziness. Like I'm not ever going to get to come visit you in college, because I can't do that, like I can't come visit you just casually at Auburn, like I would want you to have that, and I'm going to be on tour, and it's going to be crazy, and you're just going to have to come see me, and I don't want that for you. It was more like, you're so great, and you're going to find someone that's so awesome, and I just don't want you to have like the complications of my lifestyle. So anyways, like I call him to break up with him. And I'm like,
I thought it was just a routine phone call.
I know. And so I'm starting to tell him that like, I'm about to go on tour, and my life is really crazy and really busy, and just like over explaining everything. And I'm like, so all that to say, like I just don't think this is gonna work out. And he was like, hold on, wait, stop. Which is so funny that you didn't know this is breaking with you, because you didn't even let me. And he was like, wait, stop. And I love that, because again, like he was leading. He was like, hey, listen. And he said, never apologize for the things God's doing in your life. And that was so shocking to me, because I think for a lot of the relationships that I was in, I spent so much time saying like, I'm sorry that I had these opportunities, because maybe it made them feel like insecure about it or something, or I would always try to like play it low, like play it down what God was doing, or like the opportunities I was getting, because I didn't want anyone else to feel threatened by that or like see me any differently. And he was like, no, like don't apologize for what God's doing in your life. That's awesome, like you're going on tour. And then he said, listen, if it's a win for you and if it's a win for the kingdom, then it's always going to be a win for me. And I literally remember being like, okay, shut up. Like, this guy's amazing. And like, I'm going to reel that back. And so he didn't even know I was breaking up with him, because then we just had like a great conversation. And he ended up showing up on tour, like really supporting me. And he's always lived like that. Like, if it's a win for me, it's a win for him. If it's a win for the kingdom, it's a win for us. And that was actually something I said in our vows and our wedding day. I was like, I remember, like, that's when I knew you were someone I wanted to marry, because that's the kind of relationship I want to be in. If it's a win for you, it's a win for the kingdom, it's a win for me. And that's how our dynamic works. And you have lived so true to that. But yeah, I went from like a breakup to like, hold up, I'm going to marry you.
It's so sweet.
Why do I hear that story so often though? Like, people are like, the time that I was going to end it all is when I decided that we were going to be together forever. I feel like that happens a lot.
It's kind of clarity.
Matt did almost break up with me one time though.
Well, a month in, because you were my first girlfriend, and I was like, I was also going from the perspective of like, okay, I need to decide if I'm going to marry this girl or not. But it was a month in. I was 18, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I have so much life to live. But then
once again, routine phone call. I'm like, what?
So funny.
When did you find out though? When did Sadie end up opening up to you and saying, "Hey, by the way, that phone call"?
Dude, it was like I think it was like post engagement.
Someone else.
It was
post engagement.
Yes, it was like
really
a random
was.
conversation. I was like, "You were dumping me that night?"
Someone was like, asked, "Did y'all ever break up?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, well I did go to break out with him." And he was like, "What?"
This is like I don't think it was post marriage, but it was like
I almost want to say it was post-marriage.
It might have been post-marriage.
We were like, well, past this. When someone asked that question, I was like, oh yeah, I went to break up with him. He was so shocked. I was like, how did you not know that? When I literally said, I don't think it's going to work out. But I think
I don't think you said that.
I did. Yeah, but you were already en route to say, no.
I didn't have the ears to hear.
Like, you were already, whenever you're like, I know what I'm going to say, so you missed the last thing. Yeah, but that was so good for me. I needed that. And yeah, I think maybe I'm decisive on the things that are small, but then those big things, you're like, hold up. And because, again, when you're doing something wrong for so long, like, I didn't have confidence in myself, like, in my decision-making in that. Like, is this good? Is this not good? And then all of a sudden it was, like, so good that I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is crazy. This is actually happening. Like, it's right in front of me. And then I almost lost it, but thankfully you were anchored.
Christian, did you feel a lot of pressure at that time, dating Sadie, knowing that she's a public figure? You just like this girl, but obviously you don't like strike me as a guy that's like, I love social media and like influencing. So I don't know. I feel like that must have been, I'm guessing, challenging for you to navigate that while you're, dating this girl with the intentions of marriage. Well,
it was cool because like when we started dating, I'm in school at Auburn. I'm taking just business classes, driving up to Nashville every weekend. And something that was cool, because we started dating in like August of like 2018, but you didn't post on like social media until March of 2019, I guess. So we'd had like a well-established relationship for those 7 or 8 months. I felt the intimidation, like especially when you posted. I think I went from like 7,000 followers to like 100,000 followers in like a day.
Holy crap!
So it was like after you posted that. I remember we were on a ski trip. You were flying in. We were skiing. Left my phone at the house. Came back and you had posted a picture of us together, and yeah, I had like over 100,000 followers. So it was a weird dynamic, but I had so many things,
which we didn't post until we started talking about getting married.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to post about another relationship I was in, because I was just like, it's got to be the one next time. You know what I mean? Because that was the thing with all that dating stuff. It was so public. So I was like, I don't know how Taylor Swift does it with all the like past relationships, because that's actually got to be so hard, when like everyone's always bringing up your ex-boyfriends, because they're public information. And so I was just like, I don't want to do that again publicly. Like, it's got to be the one. And so we had actually just had our first conversation, like, all right, we really are going to get married. And then we started posting, because I didn't want to just like randomly post and be like, I'm engaged, and then have like no context to who he was, because it wasn't like I was trying to hide him or you didn't want. It was just that we needed to make sure like together it was good.
Well, that's the thing too. That's in hindsight that was cool. Was yes, we're in a relationship and everybody kind of knows who you are, and I'm just in a simple business class with 30 people. So it's like, but no one knows who I am besides my, the people in my class. But in hindsight, like if you would have posted, then me going to classes, it would have been different, because people know who I was. But yeah, I mean, I've had moments of insecurity throughout our relationship, but I've also had to realize, like, I can't put that on you. That's nothing that you've done to me. But even things like, I think for the first 2 years, like, I was addressed in public like 2 times by like my actual name, like, hey, are you Christian? Every other time it was like, hey, are you Sadie's husband? Which like didn't bother me, but I could, there would be moments like being insecure in that. But I'm also like, if I let that fester, that's just going to be so unhealthy. And you see that all the time with like resentment and those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, those are just things that I knew early on, which was cool, because I'd had like 7-8 months to like build up things to kind of prepare for that. Because I think early on, if we had posted, then it was like kind of like an initial like, didn't really have time to process how my life could really change.
It was crazy. Like, as soon as we posted, we had all these magazine articles saying like, who is Christian Huff? And I remember, I think it was like People magazine, it was a big one that did this whole article about who is Christian Huff, and almost every fact was wrong. It was like,
I am not surprised.
Doesn't that
make
everything is wrong?
Terrible.
It was bad.
Does that not make you question our media though? Like when they just blatantly say false information, and People magazine.
I know.
Like there's been so many articles that I've seen that just have blatantly incorrect information about us. And not to say like we have a lot of articles, but like when I have, I've been like, gosh, okay, what can I actually trust about the media?
No, seriously.
Doesn't it freak you out?
It makes you realize that like, oh, that's actually not true. Like this article is literally just made up, because I remember it was like Christian Huff, he's like 19 from California, baseball player or actor or something. It was something I was like, nope, and no, actually. Like it was all wrong. And it wasn't like bad stuff. It was just not true.
Yeah, but that was the cool thing, was just being like, because none of my for like our whole relationship, basically until we got engaged, I had been in like a relationship with somebody who's well known, but nobody knows it. So it was a cool, like, it was just like dating
him too,
dating that way, it just helped us so much.
I think social media negatively affected so many of my relationships before Christian, which is why I was like, I have to do this so differently. Like, I gotta reset. Sorry, that made me laugh.
I was like, do I put my arm around Abby right now? Or like, and I was like, you know what?
Whole thing happened.
I'm like, okay,
Bro,
I guess.
You want to hold my hand?
Let's just hold hands.
Your indecisiveness is showy.
Sometimes we get, it's the comments. Sometimes we get comments like, I love, that's so cute how they like hold hands during the episode. And then I've seen other ones that are like, that is so weird that they're like holding hands during the episode.
This is an example of Matt just getting
and it makes
so in
you
his
in your head. No,
Right,
I get that because I saw that whole thing happen. I totally get that. I just read my audiobook out loud this week, and it's so funny because I didn't go 2 sentences without the person correcting me, saying, actually, in the dictionary, it says it's pronounced like this. The whole time, like literally for 7 hours, it was like correction.
For your own book that
For my
you
own book, yes. Because I cannot pronounce words correctly when I read them out loud. That's dyslexia for you. It is bad. And I somehow was like, delusional confidence. I can read my audiobook. Took me 2 days. It was hard. But anyways, this whole week, as I'm talking, I'm like, I didn't say that word right. Like, that was wrong. Totally wrong. Dictionary says it a different way. And so I get it. And I saw the in your head moment. I was like, that's me. That's me. So sorry I laughed at that. That was just funny.
Good.
That was very relatable.
Gosh,
That was very relatable.
This episode of the Unplanned podcast is brought to you by Huggies Skin Essentials.
Baby butts rejoice!
New Huggies Skin Essentials are here! A brand new dermatologist-approved line of diapers, wipes, and pull-ups training pants, all designed with baby's sensitive skin in mind. The Skin Essentials diapers feature the Skin Protect liner and help protect against the top 2 causes of rash by managing moisture and runny mess. The wipes are thick and have 0 harsh ingredients for a great, gentle clean. We're a big fan of Huggies in our household. We've been ordering their diapers ever since we got like the cheapo ones in the beginning, and then we had blowouts, and that was a mess. And we're like, you know what? We need to invest in some quality products for our babies' butts.
Huggies is still like one of the most affordable ones, but it's just the quality, you can tell a difference, and our kids' booties can tell a difference too, I'll tell you that.
Yes, we love the Skin Essentials because sometimes it can be tricky, right? As a parent, like, you do everything to keep diaper rash from happening to your kid, but then it still happens. And so I love the Skin Essentials diapers because it whisks away that moisture. It just helps make sure that your kid is less likely to get diaper rash.
Yeah, and also the fact that they have pull-ups, training pants. We're about to enter that season, so it's going to be nice to have a good brand of pull-ups as well.
Exactly. So you can learn more at Huggies.com. Once again, head to Huggies.com to learn more.
Social media had definitely negatively affected my dating relationships previously, and definitely all those comments, I guess, did shape a little bit how my relationships were. And I think we were feeding into the media, feeding into the people. So I was like, I can't do that. Like, I want real, I want honest, like, I want an actual relationship, because I actually do want to get married and like have a family. So I want to like get to know someone for them and them get to know me for me. And so that was like the beauty of having all that time together. We both needed that. Like, we both needed to establish this is who we are with who like we know ourselves to be, who our friends know us to be, who our family, like everyone in our actual life feels good about it, and now we'll share it. And that's something I found with social media. Like, if I share from a place of needing something from it, it's always gonna be a toxic response, I feel like, in yourself. But if you share from a place of overflow, like, I don't need anything from it, I'm actually giving something to it, it's like such a freer way to go about social media. So it's like, I didn't need the affirmation from anyone following me that Christian was like the one for me. Like, I knew that was true, and now I can give y'all that information, and y'all can be in this part of my life, but like, I'm not seeking any validation from it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that because that's what my family believes, that's what our friends believe, that's what we believe, and now we'll share it. And so I think like using social media in such a way where you're not getting but you're giving is just like a way for your way to live, because it's hard.
I feel like that's so smart. It reminds me of if you decide on a baby name that you and your spouse love, you don't want to like go around asking people their opinion. You should just be like, hey, this is the one we like, and that's the name. Because it creates this weird thing, just like you were talking about with Christian, where if you invite everybody's opinion into it, it can really confuse you, and then you start to second, guess yourself.
Like, we really loved it before, but
I actually know somebody that did that. They were like, "Do you guys like this name?" And their family was like, "We don't like that name." And so they changed the name.
When we actually, so everyone was like so obsessed with trying to figure out what Honey's name was before we had Honey. It was first baby. Everyone on social media was super excited, and someone found out because at the ultrasound place we went to, it was like a local ultrasound place, they were like putting all the babies' names that were upcoming, and they knew the name and put it on the thing, and some girl went in and posted it on TikTok. Then people knew about the name. But also another thing is my grandma accidentally posted this blanket in the background. So it was like two things at the same time. My grandma did this thing, and it was like, so I don't even know how someone saw it. It was like her 5th slide on my grandma's page, but she does have a bump in Instagram account, but still. And it had like a sewn in honey on it. And you would have had to like literally turn up the contrast to read it. But then everyone was like, honey, it's honey, it's honey. So people's comments, because Honey's like a different name, it was crazy, like the things people say. Most people loved it, but a lot of people felt very strongly that it's not a name. And it's like so funny though, because now everyone's like obsessed with Honey, and
That's
she's
so
like
true.
the most honey baby ever. And like now I see a lot of other people naming their baby Honey, and I was like,
truthfully.
Literally, I knew that was a great name, and it was a perfect name for her. So that is very true. To your point,
that my grandma did the same thing. Actually, we just let her leave it up though because she does not have a bump in Instagram.
That's so funny.
People did not care that much, but it was like, congratulations, Griffin. Like she had his like weight and
no way.
So
posted
funny.
all this stuff on Facebook,
stats,
on her
like
Facebook page.
the minute he was born, and we're like,
hilarious.
all right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
actually, your grandma posted Augie's name before he was even born. Like, can't wait to meet August.
Yeah.
And we were like, tell your grandma to delete that one
No,
because
it
it
was
was
a
like
comment
on
on my Instagram post.
Oh,
That is
that's
so
funny.
Yeah.
We're like,
That
it's not
is
that
so
big of a
funny.
deal, but maybe
Well,
we'll just wait until
They're
we're
so
ready.
sweet.
My grandma was like so embarrassed because she really does pride herself in like doing Instagram well. Like she did reels before I did. Like she was
No
like,
way.
oh yeah, she's like so on trend. Her reels actually some of them have gone
Well, her
viral
most-
and
yeah,
gotten
her
way
most
more
is
than
more
me.
than yours.
Like she does so good on Instagram.
I love
and
that.
so she was like, no, I didn't. Like she was mortified that she posted the
Aw.
name, and I was like, well, no, you really actually didn't. Someone just happened to see it, you know? But it
Right.
is funny because the baby name thing. I remember even telling a family member. They said, what are you gonna name her? And I said, Honey James, and she went, seriously? And I went, yeah, yeah, that's the name. And then she goes, wow, okay. And like you can read it, and it makes you like. But I knew, I was like, no, that's the name. But to the point, to wrap up that whole thing, it is true. Like you got to know and be confident in it before you share with other people on social media, baby name, whatever it is. And I think we had so long to establish what we knew was right, and so then it was really fun to share, and it wasn't like a burden. It didn't make me feel anxious. It didn't make me go back. It was like, no, this is so different and this is so good. And it was fun. It was really exciting. And I love, like I say all that, like I love that people follow along our lives. I love that people, are involved with our relationship. That's why I said I didn't want to hide him. It wasn't about that. It was just we needed to establish something first.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad we did.
Me too.
Christian, was the name your idea?
No, it was not. The baby names are actually probably a crazier story than
We
our
have a really cool story about our baby
dating
names,
story.
Actually. Yeah, when we were on our first date in Franklin, we were like eating acai bowls, and we started walking. Have y'all been to the factory?
Someone was just telling me today I need to go there.
You need to go to the factory. This is like not a plug for everything in Franklin, but it just happened to be that we were at the factory. We ate an acai bowl. We were walking by a pottery place. I'm like, oh, let's do pottery. That'd be fun. We had just like time to kill. So we were painting little mugs, and on the mug, this is our first date, I painted a blue mug and wrote honey on it. And I wrote honey because we had just been reading Proverbs together as we were getting to know each other, which might sound funny to some, but it was actually really good for our relationship. And in Proverbs 16, it says, gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And I was like, you have honey words. Like, he was so kind. And I was like, it's so healing, like it's so sweet. And so we started talking about how like honey is such a powerful thing because it's like a dessert, like it's sweet, but it also has the power to heal. Like back in the day before medicine, you would put like honey on a wound. And I was like, what a cool thought, like how powerful honey is. And the Bible equates like gracious words to the power of honey, sweet and strong. So anyways, when it came time to name, we were like talking about baby names. I was like, oh, Honey is like a cool name because it also reminded me of my great grandma because she calls everyone Honey, and like that's her thing. So I was like, that would be a sweet tribute to her because she's still alive and amazing, and I kind of
Your great grandma?
Yeah, she's 93, and she's like the most amazing woman in the world.
Yeah, drives everywhere. She's legit.
Literally, she actually does have Instagram too, but hers should be bumping.
She's active on Instagram.
She is amazing.
Okay.
She says she's a spectator on Instagram, not a poster.
Have y'all ever, I just said y'all because I never say y'all, but I just said it. Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever checked out the nutritional information on a bottle of honey? It's alarming.
It
like
is.
the sugar content, even though it's all
crazy.
natural, like sometimes I'm making my coffee and putting some honey in there and I'm like, oh shoot, like this, this is a
we
lot
eat
of
so much
sugar.
honey too, and it is a lot of sugar.
I eat so much honey every day.
So much honey. We actually do also love honey.
Like I actually do drink it.
He really does. He's
Like
like
with
a
the
bear, legit bear. Okay.
I'm a huge honey fan.
We name her Honey, and we were like, oh, that's so cute. We have this mug from our first date. So then fast forward to our second daughter, and I was like praying, okay, God, Honey was such a good name. It was so sweet and so unique. Like I want something intentional for our next kid. And this was before I was even pregnant. I don't even know why I was really praying this, but I was like, God, what should we name our next kid? And it was like so crazy because I've never like thought of this name. I have a baby names that like all girls probably do since like high school. And I've never thought of the name Haven. But on the plane, I was praying about it, and I literally just felt in my spirit like Haven Bell. Like I just like randomly thought of this name. And I was like, that is so beautiful, because Haven's like a safe place and Bell means beautiful, like this beautiful safe place. And I was like, Christian, I was just praying about this, and I don't know, this random like name came in my head. If we have another daughter, like I think we should name her Haven. I think it's so beautiful. 2 months later, we find out we're pregnant. Then we find out we're having a girl, and I was like, Haven Bell, for sure, that's it. Choose the name. Fast forward to like a couple months later, and that trend was going on Instagram. Post a picture of when you met, your first date, when you got engaged, you got married. So I post all my pictures, don't even notice it. And one of my friends who knew we were naming our girl Haven swiped up and said, not it saying Haven right behind you in the picture from y'all's first date. And I literally didn't even know that until that day. I went back and looked, and Christian and I only have 2 pictures from our first date. And the first one is us holding our mugs that says Honey, and the second one is under a giant banner that says Haven. Isn't that the craziest thing? Only 2 pictures we have.
Only 2 pictures from our first date.
Both names were never on my baby name list, never thought about those names, never even noticed that we were standing under a banner that said Haven, because it was just a store. We just took a picture in downtown Franklin, and it happened to be under Haven. And I was like, okay, you talk about God knowing you before the foundation of the world began, forming you, knitting you together in your mother's womb. Like God had Honey and Haven in our story, written into the fabric of our story from our first date. And like the coolest thing that we didn't even know, and then we got to later just be like, okay, that's cool, you know. And like so it was like
that's
little,
wild.
like moments
Crazy.
that just make you go like, what the world? Like God, you're good. It's crazy.
So for baby number 3, you're just gonna have to study those
I
pictures.
know, those
You're just like
pictures.
zoom
I
in.
know.
You're like,
Everyone
so
has said that, and it's actually kind of funny because we went to Luke Bryan's concert, and there's literally a sign that says Luke, and everyone's like, oh, if it's a boy, you have to name him Luke.
Yeah. There you
like,
go.
I think it
You
stops
already
here.
figured out the name.
I think it stops here as far as naming goes. I think Honey and Haven were the only
Yeah.
pictures we'll get from. Because
Yeah,
we didn't
that's
try to do it. Like,
That's
we
cool.
literally didn't try to do
What?
I
that.
don't know.
Cool
I think you're
story.
onto something though. Like if you're ever stuck on like what should we name our kid? Like go to your old pictures together on
Oh,
your
yeah.
first dates.
Yeah,
and
go to
be
your
like,
first date.
Where's this? Like, is there a street sign? Okay, like Trago Creek. That's where I should. Like, I'll name my kid that. That's
Hey,
that's the
that
street I
might
grew
be
up on.
it. Like on the way here, there was a road, and it was called, or it was like, get off the exit,
June Lake
I
Boulevard.
was like, that's so cute, June Lake.
It's a
Hey,
cute-
their names
it's a cute
everywhere, written everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Do you want to ask a question? I feel like I've been
Yeah, I
dominating.
know.
this
I think you're
conversation.
good at it. Honestly.
No, I think you're really good. I think you're a really good speaker. I don't know. Why do I talk so much? You're the one who's actually good at talking.
No. So you guys, how old are your kids now? You have 3.
We have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, both in May, so they both just turned 3 and 1.
Yep.
Full of birthday parties. Now I've decided, I think from here on out, they might just share a birthday party, and we're
They're
going to have to
definitely gonna
share
share
a
a
birthday
birthday
dinner
party.
because they're May 11th and May 22nd, and we're June 9th and June 11th, so our birthdays are all in 1 month.
Oh my
so
gosh.
this month is like, that month was nuts. It was like, whoa, but it was so fun. They're at such fun stages. Like, the things that Honey is starting to say and do is just like the most beautiful, sweetest thing to see her
Aw.
little imagination run wild. And then Haven is like the
She's wild.
silliest baby. mean, her face tells the story. Her face is talking before she is. Like,
Aw.
she's so expressive and just so fun. Like, it's a sweet season of life. And we're super close to y'all's kids are super close to our kids' age, too.
2 boys, 2 girls.
Hey, is it fate?
That would
Is it fate?
be.
They're gonna get married.
They should have met.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to let them meet because they're so fun. But
They would be so
that's so 3 and 1. I was trying to figure out what I was trying to say there.
No, you're
Can you
good.
say
I what I wanted to say though was Abby and I today, we were talking about like what should we chat? I can't talk. It was like what should we talk about with Christian and Sadie, and I remembered seeing you guys post about a pretty traumatic birth experience that you went through with your first, and transparently, like when Abby and I got pregnant, we like didn't really know what to expect, but at the time it was like somewhere around there that
We were pregnant with Griffin when you posted your birth story.
Really?
Yes.
And I watched it.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that is so scary. But I hope that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
And that happened to me.
No way.
With our
Yes.
first.
Are you
Really?
serious?
The
Same exact
We
thing.
have the exact same birth experiences basically with our first and second because I had a
Yeah.
scheduled
What?
C-section with my second.
That's crazy.
Oh my god.
And we were like talking about the day, and honestly, I like went back and looked at your video because I was like, was it the same thing? And I was like, honestly, getting anxious hearing it because I was like, I don't personally like, I don't look back at my birth as like traumatic or anything, but now I'm like, maybe I do because when I look, whenever I see someone post their birth thing, I like scroll right away. I'm like, no, like I don't want to, or even our own. I'm like, please do not play that around me. Like I don't want to know. And so, yeah, but I like watched it and I was like, it was to a T, like the same thing. Like they pushed Matt out of the way and it was
Yeah.
like scary emergency situation. And then, yeah, it
That's
was just,
crazy because it really is so rare. That I think that happens in like 0.1% of births. Like it's so rare. So that is really crazy.
Yeah,
that we have
the
the same
shoulder
situation.
dystocia thingy.
Dystocia, yeah.
Yeah.
For anybody
I'm
that
so
doesn't
sorry that
know
happened
what
to
we're,
y'all.
and you guys too. I mean, oh my gosh, I wouldn't
That's crazy.
wish that on anybody. But for anybody that's confused about what we're talking about, it's basically shoulder dystocia. It happens in like 1% of births, and it's where the baby gets caught in the birth canal on their way out. Like the
No, they
shoulder,
get- their shoulders get stuck.
The
Get
shoulder's
stuck.
stuck, and they can't breathe, and so they have to push people out of the way, and essentially like nurses and people run in to start pushing on the mother's belly and trying to get the baby out that way. They don't go too long without oxygen. And yeah, I mean, even Abby was playing the video back. I was like, I'm pretty sure they had the same exact thing that we did.
Wow.
And even just to, I was like, Abby, are you okay talking about this?
nervous.
Because Abby was like getting pretty stressed, like just hearing you talk about it, because it's not a fun experience to go through.
No, it's definitely not. And I always say this, and I'm so sorry that you feel so anxious, because I always tell people, like, when sharing like your birth story, I would never want people to feel anxious and to be afraid to go into labor, because I feel like we were talking about this. It's so interesting. Like when you prepare for something, like for instance, labor is such a crazy thing, because to y'all, labor probably is like the scariest thing in the world. Think about having to go through labor because you're like, can't even imagine it, like it's like, no, that's so scary. To like anyone, you're like thinking labor is crazy, but like to the person who is least scared of labor is kind of ironic, because it's typically the person who's about 41 weeks pregnant,
Right.
because you're
You're
so
like,
ready.
I want that right now.
Yes, and I remember like being 41 weeks pregnant with Honey and not being scared of labor at all, being like, I would do anything to go into labor. I was bouncing on the ball. I was crawling around on all fours. I was doing everything to be like, please, God, help me go into labor.
Thank you to Chime for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. You guys, when Abby and I were engaged, I had just started a new job, and I told myself, hey, I'm not going to splurge and spend $40 on some Bluetooth earbuds until I can make 10 times that at my new job. Saving money can be tricky, but Chime has got your back. A Chime checking account helps you reach your financial goals while still enjoying your summer. Take back your finances with features like fee-free overdraft up to $200 with SpotMe, or getting paid up to 2 days earlier with direct deposit. To date, Chime has spotted members over 20 billion. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to your limit when you exceed your balance. Your next direct deposit is applied to your negative balance. Chime never charges fees or interest for using SpotMe. So live it up this summer and make progress towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in minutes at chime.com/unplanned. That's chime.com/unplanned. Chime. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details.
I feel like, you're going to be scared of something that you're not prepared for, right? And so yes, it would sound so scary to hear a story on like shoulder dystocia when you've never been through it, or when like, and that's so unknown, and it literally happens in 1% of births. So I'm like, I don't want it to cause fear for people, but I do want to tell the story because this is something that happened, but also like look at the positive side of it. For a long time, I could not talk about it. Like I could not talk about the story. I would shake. I would get so afraid, and
we couldn't listen to the song
I
that was
couldn't even
playing.
listen to the song that was playing, which was really sad because the song "Million Little Miracles" was actually playing when Honey was born, but during that time, like she wasn't breathing. All the beeps in the hospital are scary when they're not beeping the way they're supposed to, and all the crazy stuff is like happening, and they think her shoulder's broken, she's not getting oxygen. Like it was terrifying. So I couldn't even listen to the song. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, like the song "Million Little Miracles" was playing, like it was a miracle. Like she's a miracle, and I think that's beautiful. But for a long time I was like, I can't even listen to it. I don't even want to talk about it. And I would shake like when people would ask me, and I would like try to tell the story, but I would be like so traumatized. And I remember I had the best piece of advice. Do y'all know Dr. Amen?
Yeah,
we interviewed
Dr.
him.
Amen. Yeah.
Okay, he helps me a lot. Like he's helped me so much, and he actually started helping me back when we actually got married, because I had a lot of anxiety from like different things I had walked through. Back to the negative sides of fame, but so he started helping me a long time ago. Well, after I had Honey, a lot of that anxiety sparked back up, like really severe. Like I didn't know like postpartum anxiety, like what that was until I was like literally fetal position in the closet, like so terrified of everything and shaking and whatnot. And he told me, he said, Sadie, like she got stuck for 2 minutes and 11 seconds, and you're stuck in the 2 minutes and 11 seconds, but she got out and she was okay, and she started breathing, and she is a healthy baby. And he was like, don't get stuck in the 2 minutes and 11 seconds. He said, actually just skip over that part. Just tell the good part. Tell about the miracle story. Like tell about the song playing. Tell about how her shoulder wasn't broken and she was able to breathe and that she is good. And I think like for so long when people ask to tell the story, I'm like only thinking about like the hard part and not thinking about like, oh, what's come, like the good part at the end of it. And it was such good advice. And so now like I really want people to know like there's a good side of the story. Like she's a 3-year-old girl that's running around today in an Anna dress, playing Anna and Elsa, like having a blast and a great time. And like yes, that happened, but like don't get mentally like stuck in that zone. And so yes, like he first told me don't tell the story for a while, and so I didn't tell the story for a while. Like when people would ask me, I'd be like, oh no, I can't like tell that story right now. So I get it, if like people ask you to tell a story and you're like you don't want to,
well,
I think you have to like just not.
I've never looked at it as like scary, honestly, because I feel like I just like separated in that time. I was just like, oh, the baby's here, and like I was able to like jump over it. It wasn't until later when I had talked to my doctor about having the next baby, I was like, well, we're doing that whole thing again, and she's like, no, like we need to talk about this, like for the future you probably want to think about a C-section. I was like, yeah, that wasn't normal, that was scary. Well, and actually, then I was scared.
That's actually what happened. So my mom always says, she's like, I think what happened to you, why it traumatized you, because I didn't know either, even though it was so bad. Like looking back, I'm like, oh, okay, but I never given birth before, so I didn't know.
That was me.
Again, like you're prepared for something you don't know, like you don't know what you don't know. So I was just like, okay, like that was really hard, and labor's hard, so you're like, that was like crazy. Wow,
I wasn't thinking it was gonna be easy.
Me either. So I was just like, okay, wow. And then the nurse came in and was like, she was so scared, and she was like, they were coming off of how scared they all were, which I didn't know they were all scared, like to that degree, I just thought that was crazy. And the nurse said like, no, that's the scariest thing that could have happened, like, and she said those words.
Oh gosh, that would have freaked me.
And then I was like, wait, what? And then they were like, we're gonna have a couple of my pediatricians come check her and make sure she's really okay. And then I was like, hold on, wait, what's happening? Then when I realized like what happened, then I was like so scared. So
that's for sure.
For a whole
what
24
happened.
hours, I was actually fine about it. And then when I like heard from them, I was like, oh no, not fine, because now I'm freaked out, So yeah, actually very same thing. And then it was like, okay, you're not gonna be able to do that again, and like the C-section, like all the talks.
I didn't know any of that. Like everyone was so calm that like all the nurses were like, yeah, we're gonna check him. Like I think they broke his clavicle, and it was broken, but they're like, he's fine. Like his bones are like rubber right now. Like, and they were like all very calm. And my doctor was like so calm too. She didn't really say anything until like I was like 3rd trimester with Augie. She's like, so when are we gonna schedule, like when are we gonna have a conversation? And I was like,
and you're like, what? Yeah.
I was like, was that weird or different? Like was that she's like, that was serious. That was an emergency situation. I was like, oh, okay.
And of course, it was the one appointment that I wasn't at. So Abby was just really freaked out. She was like, she's telling me I have to have a C-section. And you were really worried. But I'm just thinking, they're like, okay, well, I'm not a doctor,
I felt disappointed.
but
I was like,
yeah, it's disappointing
let
when
me
you
even
have
try?
a plan and it doesn't go the route. But
Yeah.
like, I feel like for the second time, I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna like try to make a plan, because the first time I had all these plans in the world and none of it happened, because obviously you can't plan for that, and then craziness happened. So then the second time, I didn't know that I was gonna have to have a C-section. So I guess I was kind of like, okay, whatever they say, I'm just gonna be like, whatever they say, I'm just gonna go with it. But I can't imagine like not knowing that, and then the doctor being like, hey, you're gonna have that, without any like mental prep, because that's hard.
Christian,
I rallied. It was okay.
man, what was your experience when all this went down?
So
Oh, yeah, Matt was freaked.
I'm with Sadie. I did not know the severity of anything. The thing that honestly freaked me out the most, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to. I did not know that a cone head was a thing.
Yeah, he literally did
I
it.
was like freaking
Matt
out.
told him to put a helmet on our baby.
No, I didn't. I was like,
I'm
wait,
like-
do they need a helmet?
Well, I'm saying this happened, and then they're
Everyone
all
was
like
checking
kind of
the
like
shoulder,
scrambling, and I'm
Christian's
like, have y'all seen
Have you seen
her?
the head? Have you seen that?
Well, I literally saw her, and then I just saw like Jimmy Neutron. I was like, what? I was like, it is. I don't know what this is. Obviously, it's my child, and she's beautiful. But I was like, no one prepared me for that. I was like,
Jimmy
why are y'all
Neutron,
checking her?
beautiful.
I was like, why are y'all checking her shoulder? I was like, something is like wrong with her head. And then they were explaining to me the cone head.
And I didn't know any of that. I was so out of it. And by the time they brought her to me, like,
Well, they
I
have
didn't
her on
even
the
know what
table,
happened.
and
They brought her. She had a hat
they
on.
have her
I
on the
was
thing.
like-
They're checking for jaundice and everything. Then they turn her around. She's screaming, and I was like, "What?" I had no like reference point for what a.
Bro, isn't it like a traffic cone? Like, I
Yes.
think that's the best way to describe it. It literally looks like that,
Yes.
especially
It's
with shoulder
hilarious.
dystocia,
Yes.
because they're there for so long.
I know.
That, being stuck in the birth canal, it like forms their head into a literal cone.
Yeah.
For anybody that like doesn't understand what
Like
we're saying,
Phineas
No,
from Phineas
the
and
shoulder
Ferb.
Yeah.
does
Like,
not have anything to do with that.
No,
But
no,
it does maybe make it a little bit more
No,
prominent,
maybe.
because
Yeah.
it's stuck long enough there, so it
Exactly.
forms it a little bit more cone-like.
and their body and like their head's so flexible, malleable, whatever.
That
at
is
that
true.
point.
Actually, did your second come out a little bit more like?
well, C-section, they don't have a cone
yeah,
head.
the
I was
C-section
like,
babies come out
Oh
pretty.
my gosh, she's so pretty. Like, her head is so round. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think her head was so round.
Which I know you asked my experience. Like that was the thing when I saw Honey, like with the way that her head looked. I was like, I was just
You're like, oh no.
I was just kind of confused.
I have to say too, like that was one of those things, like you think it's gonna, like, it's expectation versus reality, maybe like Instagram versus reality is what we should say, because you see all these people like for the first time meeting their baby and it's like the most magical moment, and like that was not our experience because it was
Yeah.
so crazy. And so then like put her on me and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like I was just
Same.
like, I was in a daze. Like I could not, and I remember Christian saying like, it's Honey, and that was like snapped, like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my baby, like she's here, she's okay, this is Honey, like whew. But it wasn't like
know.
it was like a okay, like my body was just like what, and I could not stop shaking, like I had the crazy shakes. So
That's the thing,
people
too,
do
like,
kinda
you don't
tell
know
about.
what you don't
I was just
know,
like,
you know?
whoa. But then kind of like what you said, we rallied and it was okay and it was great and she's amazing, but whew, that was crazy.
That was great. Yeah, as a spectator, like for both, I feel like Matt was like, I like C-section because it was just so calm. Which, like, they were playing music and we were just chilling.
Well, I
and
just
just
felt-
pulled the baby
I
out.
felt-
It's so
Yeah.
crazy how different that was.
Well, I just felt horrible for Abby because, like, as a husband, you can't push the baby out for them. Like, if you're ever in a situation where your wife needs help, there's usually something that you can do. Like, as a man, I want to fix things and help the situation. But other than just, like, saying words of encouragement and, rubbing Abby's back, playing with her hair, like, there wasn't anything I could actually do to
Yeah,
take
so-
over
yeah,
and, like,
that's true.
birth the baby for her.
I
You just
didn't look
can't.
at it as, like,
And-
crazy, though. I was like, let's do it again.
So, like, seeing her in so much pain, I was like, there's literally nothing I can do right now to take this burden from her, which sucked,
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's rare in life that there's, like even if
You can't do anything.
yeah.
It's funny because I like to be really prepared for things. So I was like sending him all these stuff that he should prepare for, and I was like, here's what it says, like the spouse should do. And it was so funny because it was like, look her in the eye, affirm her, tell her the plan, all this stuff. And like Christian, same thing with him reading the dating book and doing exactly what it says. He would like look me in the eye.
But
and he was like,
this was
the
in
plan
the-
is you are gonna have a baby. You are amazing.
This was in
You
like
are,
it was in
I
like a
he's
funny tone.
doing it, yeah. And I remember
You are Sadie Robertson.
He was like,
Huff.
you are Sadie Robertson.
So
You are.
beautiful.
It
You were
was
built
crack-
for this.
And in my mind, I thought that was so funny, and I was telling someone the story later. I was like, "Oh, it was cracking me up." He was like, "You are Sadie Robertson. You can do this."
Okay, I
like
wasn't
all
saying
this
it like
stuff. Like, well, it was funny.
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
encouraging me, like saying all the things that
This
I
is-
told you.
this
to
is the
say.
plan.
And I was saying that I was cracking up. My mom was like, "You were not laughing." I was like, "Really? I thought I was." She's like, "No, you were literally in labor." But in my mind, I thought it was really funny. So I'm like, "Hey,
I was laughing on the inside.
On the inside, it was helping." Okay.
That's so, you say you didn't. It wasn't helpful, Matt. It was so helpful because I remember I was not listening to literally anything anyone else in the room was saying, but you. I was like, you were
It
like
is
a
helpful.
football coach, and I wasn't responding. I know I wasn't responding because I was like literally checked out. I was going to another planet in my mind, but I could just hear your voice. And other people told Matt because they like watched our video. They're like, "Did you not think that was so annoying? Like he wouldn't stop talking." I was like, "No, he was keeping me in reality. I was just like locked in on that, and I like loved it."
Me too.
I
That was
literally-
so helpful. That's what I remember. Is
Like
what
if
he
you
was
were to
saying.
leave, I would have been like, no, I'm done. I can't do this.
So, because I just kept telling Abby, "You are so strong. You are so brave," and I just said that over and over again. Did you repeat the words to Sadie
yeah,
like
for
that
sure.
Yeah, it was like
for like an hour?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was a long time for
It's a
sure.
long time.
Yeah, that's crazy how similar of experience.
I
Yeah,
know.
with how rare that is. And
I
I have
know.
a friend actually the same way. They broke her shoulder, and she's amazing. One of my great friends, worship leader. You know, hey, you go on from it, but it's a crazy.
But also the thing
experience
too
for sure.
now is like looking at Honey and Haven, like Honey looks like the one that would get her shoulder stuck. Like she's just like she's
What
just
does
a.
this mean?
Well, I'm saying she's just a little unit. Like she's
She's strong,
She's strong.
but she's also tiny. She's like 25th percentile.
Well, she was a big baby.
But she was a big baby.
She was- yeah.
Oh yeah, she was big. Was he big?
Not really.
Not really.
He was like 8'4".
Yeah, Honey was
He was
9'5".
9'5".
Well,
She
thank
is
you
the
guys
best.
for coming on the show and like just sharing your life with us. Where can people find you, follow you on social media?
Yeah, thank y'all for having us. Y'all are so much fun, and we love having y'all on the podcast. Our podcast, so it's fun to get on y'all's and get to meet y'all in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can follow us on Instagram, all the places, YouTube, legit Sadie Rob and Christian Huff,
Underscore Huff.
Underscore Christian.
Wait, did you
Oh.
take? Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh,
I
you
took his
did?
last name, but I just always gone. Well, I feel like Rob is kind of like a middle name for me, even though it's not, because my friends will call me Sadie Rob.
Yeah.
So legit Sadie Rob was able to stay, but I am Sadie Robertson Huff now.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I took your last name.
There's that. You have all your podcast stuff. I have a podcast called 4-8 Men, which is trying to help men train physically and spiritually, and women, whoever wants to listen, train physically and spiritually. And then I've put out a couple like workout devotional PDFs that people can buy on my
Nice.
website to, try to change the way that we view working out, to get out of the idolizing of your physical feature of what you look like, to really how can I train myself spiritually while I'm training myself physically. So that's kind of the main thing that I'm doing. So I have a couple like workout devotional things that I've
That's
written.
Really
So-
cool. Yeah.
And then you have all your podcasts and
Well, that's good.
ministry
But
stuff.
thank y'all. We appreciate that. That's so
Yeah.
nice. It's been awesome.